On today's show, we're talking about innovative mobile apps for business. And our guest on today's show is Steve Nichols of TechXB.
I think the key thing is thinking about what is it that's coming into your market that may seem a million miles away, but potentially could eat your lunch. And that's what worries people today, I think. Well, I think when we talk about disruptive technology, we're talking about the kind of, as an example, for instance, something like Uber. Now, Uber's a taxi, basically they're the largest taxi service in the world, and yet they don't own a single vehicle. Perhaps the latest term is the word unicorn, and this is for large startups that hit the $1 billion mark. Well, if you look at the statistics of business startups, within 3 years, 50% fail, and within 5 years, 90% have gone. So the chances are actually quite slim. Going to your bank, for instance, to get money, you're probably, if you're a startup, they're unlikely to lend you any money unless you're prepared to put your house on the line. So in this case, what he wants to do is he wants to give an hour of training to 100,000 kids. And also he managed to persuade various people, like, for instance, the owner of Facebook, do you know his name's just gone from me? Zuckerberg, Mark Zuckerberg. And him, Bill Gates, and a number of others said that they would add whatever they raised, they would double it effectively. Now, if you think about it, how could he have done that without how was he going to get the money together to do that? So he came to this social platform, which effectively is a crowdfunding. So it's a crowd, which is effectively a marketplace where people will give money for something in return. This product came into being because somebody had an idea, they put a prototype together, and they went to Indiegogo and they raised money. They raised, as it turns out, nearly $2 million.
Oh no, fantastic.
7,460 odd people wanted the product and put their money up front. And it was a phenomenally successful. Their goal was only $100,000. So they got, 20 times that. But the key thing is that product may never have came to market if I hadn't have invested along with all the other 7,000 odd people. So the idea is that you're investing because you're going, yeah, I'd love to see that. This company probably is two young guys in a bedroom somewhere who probably couldn't have raised $2 million. Hi, I'm Steve Nichols from TechXB, the author of Social Media in Business. We work with companies in the area of digital, social, and emerging technologies. And we do training and consulting around this. What we've gone through today is actually we covered 5 of the 6 apps which we talked about. One that we missed off was Airbnb. But the key thing to remember is that even if you're a small company or a huge company, that within your market there are people that are going to be coming up with new ideas. So take a look at the mission statements. The mission statements of these companies typically are big. They've usually got something big. They're looking at being this idea of 10 times, being 10 times better, 10 times faster, the performance of 10 times rather than just being 10% better than you were last year. So look in your industry and think, right, who is in my industry that is disrupting or potentially is disrupting my business? Is it you? If it's not you, it's going to be somebody else. So be aware of that. The other area is leverage other people's assets. So for instance, we talked about, if you look at Waze, they use the location in mobile phones. Another company, Navtech, they spent $8 billion on putting a network of sensors for this kind of thing, whereas this is free to Waze, and because effectively they're using other people's assets, they're using the asset of my location rather than having their own network. So I think it's this idea of make or buy. I think it's an old problem, but in your industry, is there a way that you can leverage other people's assets for your thing? So I think the other area is there an opportunity or is there a risk in your industry? If there is, make sure you look for the opportunity. If there's a problem that you personally are facing, so for instance, when we looked at the funding, it was probably the idea of that came from somebody that had a small business, couldn't raise the funds. So they thought there's got to be a better way, rather than just going to a bank, so they created Funding Circle. People in crowdfunding, they thought there's got to be a better way to get my product to market and raise money. So they came up with crowdfunding and some of the other things that we've covered. So my invitation to you is to try some of these apps. If you like them, then use them. But most of them, well, all of them are free. So try them out and see if they work for you. And so I've been Steve Nichols, and thank you for listening.